Why do you believe Israel halted its operation in Gaza?
Well, Israel basically achieved its two main goals. The first goal was to restore what it calls its deterrence capacity, and that's just a technical term which means to restore the Arab world's fear of Israel. After the defeat that Israel suffered during the July-August 2006 war in Lebanon, the Israeli government was concerned that the Arabs no longer feared Israel, what they call their deterrence capacity. And so they needed to go into some place, demolish and destroy it, wreak enough murder and mayhem so that the Arabs would recognize Israel is still a fighting force, still capable of inflicting massive amounts of destruction, and that you don't mess with Israel. And that aim was basically achieved. And the second goal was the Palestinian leadership in Gaza, Hamas, was signaling that it was ready to seek a diplomatic settlement of the conflict along the June 1967 border. That is, Israel would have to fully withdraw from the territories it occupied in June 1967, the whole of the West Bank and the whole of Gaza. Israel is unwilling to do that. The Palestinians were appearing too moderate, and so they had to be destroyed.
You said in the past 3 weeks that Israel has committed a Holocaust in Gaza. Mm-hmm. Really?
You know, I don't have to fixate on words. The destruction was massive. The destruction was horrific. And what was most shocking of all, the destruction was right in front of the world's eyes. This was not some hidden genocide. This was not some hidden massive atrocity. Everybody knew exactly what was going on. In fact, the European governments went along with it. The European governments went along with the starvation of Gaza the past 2 years. The European governments joined in the brutal economic sanctions against Gaza. And the European governments now, including the Russian government, they just went to visit Olmert after the brutality, after killing 400 children, after bombing schools, after bombing mosques. The killing ratio was 100 to 1. 14 Israelis, 1,300 Gazans. And they're talking about curbing Hamas's weapons, not curbing Israel's weapons. It's breathtaking. No embargo on Israel. It just committed a massive atrocity before the whole world's eyes.
You know, many listening to you speak right now would be surprised to know that you are the son of Holocaust survivors. Mm-hmm. You are an American Jew. You're Jewish. Mm-hmm. At what point in your life did you become so actively critical of Israel?
I've always been involved in politics from a quite young age. Originally it was civil rights movement in the United States and the war in Vietnam. I became involved, actually coincidentally, during another of Israel's big massacres in June through September 1982. It invaded Lebanon.
And up until that point, you were a supporter of Israel?
No, I was never a supporter of Israel. I don't support states. I support principles. Principles, what's just, what's right, what's moral. Basic principles of fairness and decency.
In your famous book, The Holocaust Industry, you argue the state of Israel, quote, is one of the world's most formidable military powers with a horrendous human rights record. Israel casts itself as a victim state in order to garner immunity to criticism. From what I read, I understand that you suffered a tremendous amount of backlash for that book, especially when it came to your career. Can you tell me what happened?
What happened was the book came out in June 2000. At that time, it was considered sort of shocking, even the title, The Holocaust Industry. Nowadays, it's now some 8 or more years later. It's not really considered very controversial.
But you were a professor at a school, and you lost your job as a result of this.
I lost many teaching opportunities. The last one was at DePaul University in Chicago, where I was in a tenure track job. And the axis of evil joined together to deny me the tenure, and in the end they succeeded. And you could say, for practical purposes, my professional career is over.
Do you regret anything?
No, I have no regrets at all. I think it's been a wonderful life. What could be more rewarding in life? What could be more gratifying in life than to be able to speak your mind?
You spoke your mind, you got punished for it.
If there were no price for telling the truth, everybody would tell the truth. The choice is the kind of life you want to live. And I think it's been a wonderful life. I've said what I believe. I've been able to act on my beliefs. I don't have any regrets about that.
I understand that in May of 2008, you were denied entry into Israel and then told you couldn't come back for 10 years. Why?
Well, I had no interest in going to Israel. Let's be clear about that. I was going to see friends of mine in the occupied Palestinian territories in the West Bank. And Israel controls entry and exit from the Palestinian territories, and so I was denied entry. Originally they said I posed a security threat, but even Israel's main newspaper, its most respected newspaper, Haaretz, the day after I was denied entry, they had an editorial entitled "Who's Afraid of Norman Finkelstein?" And they said it was clear that it was my political views that caused me to be denied entry. It had nothing to do with a security threat. I mean, the whole claim of a security threat is preposterous, because Israel and the United States share all intelligence information. The U.S. has as harsh anti-terrorism laws as Israel. So if there were any security information, if there are any intelligence information saying I'm a security threat, I should be arrested here.
You have called Israel a client state of the United States. What does that mean?
Basically, it does what the United States wants it to do. It suspends its atrocities in Gaza because it may hurt Obama's coronation. We're now having an anointing of I'm not sure if it's anointing of a king or a swearing in of a president, but we're having some sort of celebration. And so nothing is allowed to ruin the party. So we have to stop killing children in order to make President or King Obama happy. And that's Israel. Israel's just a total slave of the United States. It can't do anything without the United States.
Speaking of President Obama, how do you foresee him?
He's going to be the same. He's a complete opportunist. If he were white, you'd say there's no difference between him, say, and Clinton. Both of them are quite intelligent. Clinton's probably smaller than him. But both of them are quite intelligent, and both of them are completely opportunistic politicians. They have no principles, no values, no commitments, no convictions, other than to power. And they are both quite skillful at assessing which way the winds are blowing, what's possible and what's desirable, to preserve their power and preserve their privilege, and they go with it. The only reason people have illusions about Obama is because he's black. If he were not black, people would have no illusions about him. He's just another one-of-the-mill crooked politician.
You speak very candidly about your position on this issue and have for the past 25 years. As a result, you've received a lot of praise, but you've also been criticized. You've been labeled a traitor because you're Jewish, anti-Semitic, a Holocaust denier. How does that make you feel?
There's a whole people which is being decimated. I'm not going to wallow in self-pity about the names that are being hurled in my direction. We have a challenge. We have a responsibility. It's not the time to squander on whether or not I feel good or bad. Thank goodness I feel I'm still alive. What about the 400 children who were killed, many of them incinerated by white phosphorus? They don't feel anymore. They're gone. Their lives were snuffed out. Snuffed out for what? to fit it in just in time between Election Day, November 4th, and Coronation Day, like a holiday you fit in on your calendar. That's why 400 children were incinerated by this satanic state. And I'm now supposed to worry about how I feel because they call me this and call me that. Let them all burn in hell for what they did to the poor people of Gaza. What did those people ever do? 80% of them are refugees and the children of refugees who were expelled from Israel in 1948. That's how they ended up in Gaza. I don't care what they call me, because I know what the whole world calls them. There are a lot of cowards who are afraid to say it out loud.